Okay, let's be real. You've done everything by the book, right? You've prepped the soil, you've been watering perfectly, you've even pruned like a pro, but your tomato plants just seem stuck. It is one of the most common and honestly most frustrating things in the garden, but today we're going to fix it for good. So why is it happening? It's a totally fair question. You're following all the advice, you're giving them all this care, and still something feels like it's missing. And you might be thinking it's something you're doing wrong, but the answer is actually so much simpler, and I promise it's going to completely change how you see your garden.
And there it is. That's the secret. Your tomatoes are lonely. Seriously, they are not meant to be grown all by themselves in a neat little row. They are social plants that absolutely thrive when they have the right neighbors around them. Plants that protect them, help them out, and bring out their absolute best. This isn't a failure on your part, not at all. It's just a simple misunderstanding of what a tomato plant really needs.
The solution to this problem has a name. It's called companion planting. And this isn't just about sticking random plants next to each other and hoping for the best. No, this is about creating a living, breathing ecosystem where every single member supports the others. It's about working with nature to build a garden that's stronger, healthier, and way more productive. So let's meet the 3 best friends your tomatoes have been waiting for their whole lives. First up is an absolute classic, and for a very, very good reason. I mean, you've seen marigolds everywhere, but they are so much more than just a pretty face. They are one of the most powerful guardians you can possibly give your tomatoes, and the science behind how they work is just incredible. You see, the marigold works on 2 different fronts. Underneath the soil, its roots release a compound that is literally toxic to root knot nematodes. Those are some of the sneakiest pests that can wreck your plants from below. And then above ground, its scent creates what is basically an invisible force field, confusing and pushing away pests like aphids and those big, nasty tomato hornworms. And here's the secret sauce, a compound called limonene. Pests like aphids find your delicious tomatoes by their smell. Well, the strong, citrusy scent of limonene completely masks the tomato scent. It's like your tomatoes are wearing an invisibility cloak. The pests fly by and basically think, nothing to eat here, and just move right along. It's brilliant! All right, let's move on to our next guardian, and it's one you definitely know, and probably already love, basil. I mean, we all know that tomatoes and basil are a perfect match in the kitchen, right? But what's so cool is that their amazing relationship actually starts way before the harvest. It starts right there in the soil. Basil is another one of these aromatic powerhouses. Its strong, amazing scent is fantastic at repelling common pests like aphids and whiteflies. But here's the most fascinating part. It's believed that basil actually improves the flavor of the tomatoes growing next to it. For ages, gardeners have sworn that tomatoes grown near basil are just richer, sweeter, and more complex. So what's the magic ingredient this time? It's a compound called eugenol. That's what gives basil that distinct, sharp, peppery scent that we think is so delicious. Well, to a lot of pests, that same smell is a giant warning sign. It basically screams, stay away, this place is not for you, and they actively avoid the area. That's pretty amazing. Now, our third guardian is a true warrior of the garden. We're talking about garlic. Garlic doesn't just repel insects. Oh no, it goes a huge step further. It helps protect your precious tomatoes from one of their absolute most devastating enemies. So garlic's strong scent creates a protective barrier against pests like spider mites and leafhoppers. But its real superpower? It has natural antifungal properties. It helps make the soil and the air around it less friendly to the spores that cause late blight, a horrible disease that can wipe out an entire tomato crop in, no time at all. And of course, the best part? You get a bonus harvest of delicious garlic at the end of the season. And the secret weapon in garlic's arsenal is a potent compound called allicin. That's what's responsible for that powerful, pungent smell we all know. Now, to us, it smells like a delicious dinner. But to insects and to fungal spores, it smells like pure danger. It makes your garden a much, much less inviting place for them to set up shop. So there you have it, side by side, your tomato guardian trio. You've got the marigold for all-around pest control and some beautiful flowers. You've got the basil for keeping bugs away and actually making your tomatoes taste better. And you have the garlic, fighting off both insects and devastating fungal diseases. Look, even if you just choose one of these to start, you're going to see a massive difference. So how do we put all of this together? The goal here isn't just to plant things next to each other. It's about shifting your mindset. You're not just a gardener, you're an ecosystem architect. And trust me, it is so much simpler than it sounds. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Companion planting is all about collaboration, not combat. It's about letting the garden function like a little self-regulating community where all the plants are actually helping each other to thrive. So here's your action plan. It really is this simple. You don't have to go all out and do everything at once. Just pick one guardian, whichever one makes the most sense for you in your garden, get it in the ground near your tomatoes, and then just watch. I'm telling you, you will be amazed at what starts to happen. If you take away one thing today, let it be this. Stop thinking about gardening as a constant battle against pests and diseases. Instead, start thinking of it as building a thriving, supportive neighborhood for your plants. A good neighborhood protects its residents, right? And that's exactly what these amazing companion plants do. So that really just leaves us with one final thought. Now that you know the secret, now that you know your tomatoes are just looking for a few good friends, what are you going to do? Which guardians are you going to invite into your garden to create your very first thriving plant neighborhood? The possibilities are really fun to think about.
Let's talk about getting the most amazing tomatoes you've ever grown. Forget just planting a garden. Today, we're designing the ultimate ecosystem for them. We're going to build a thriving, self-supporting community where your plants actually help each other out.
You know the feeling, right? You've prepped the soil perfectly. You're watering just the right amount. You prune like an absolute pro, but something is just off. Your plants are struggling, and for the life of you, you can't figure out why. It is probably one of the most frustrating things for any gardener.
Well, the answer might be simpler than you think. The source material puts it perfectly. Tomatoes are social. They're not meant to be grown in isolation. The secret isn't just about how you take care of them, it's about who you plant right next to them. So today, we're going to build that community, layer by powerful layer. Okay, our first layer is all about protection. These are what we call the guardians. Think of them as the security detail for your tomatoes, forming a defensive perimeter that wards off all kinds of threats, both the ones you can see and the ones you can't.
So before we even meet our first guardian, you have to understand the invisible enemy. I'm talking about root knot nematodes. These things are basically silent assassins. They're microscopic worms that live in the soil, attacking the roots, stunting your plant's growth, and wrecking your harvest before you even know there's a problem.
So how do you fight an enemy you can't even see? With a garden classic, the marigold. There is a very good reason your grandma probably planted these everywhere. Marigolds release a natural chemical right into the soil that is literally toxic to nematodes. But they don't stop there. Their famous scent also acts like an invisible force field above ground, pushing away pests like hornworms and aphids. Guardian number 2 is one you probably have in your kitchen right now, basil. That amazing smell we love, it comes from a compound called eugenol, and it turns out pests like aphids and whiteflies absolutely hate it. So planting basil creates this aromatic shield around your tomatoes. And here's the really cool part. Many gardeners swear that planting basil nearby actually makes your tomatoes taste even better. Our third guardian is another kitchen MVP, garlic. Its super strong smell is like a giant keep-out sign for pests like spider mites and aphids. But garlic has a secret superpower. It's also antifungal. It actually helps create an environment in the soil that suppresses one of the most dreaded tomato diseases out there, late blight. And let's bring in calendula, sometimes called the pot marigold. It's a gorgeous but also incredibly hardworking plant. Its flowers repel hornworms and whiteflies. And just like its marigold cousins, its roots release compounds that can help reduce those nasty nematode populations in the soil. So it's working double duty, above and below ground. Okay, so here's a quick cheat sheet for your defense team. You've got marigolds for nematodes and hornworms. Basil for the flying pests like whiteflies. Garlic is your protector against mites and fungus, and calendula adds another powerful layer of defense. Now that our perimeter is secure, let's bring in some backup. With our defenses in place, it is time to go on the offensive. Layer 2 is all about the allies. These are plants that don't just repel the bad guys, they actively recruit a support team of good guys to help your garden absolutely thrive. And our first ally is a true garden hero, borage. Those beautiful star-shaped blue flowers, they're an absolute bee magnet. And you know what more bees means, right? More pollination, which directly translates to a massive harvest of tomatoes. Plus, as a bonus, borage helps scare off those giant, destructive tomato hornworms. Next up, we have parsley. Don't let its humble appearance fool you. Parsley is your secret weapon because it invites the good guys to the party. I'm talking about predators like ladybugs and hoverflies. These aren't just pretty visitors, they're your personal pest control squad.
Seriously, think about this. A single ladybug can eat dozens and dozens of aphids every single day. So by planting parsley, you're not just growing an herb for your kitchen, you are literally deploying a microscopic security team for your garden. They work 24/7 and they work for free.
And for our third ally, we're adding some pure elegance with lavender. Its soothing scent is completely irresistible to pollinators like bees and butterflies, but it's totally overwhelming to most garden pests. They basically take one sniff and fly the other way. It's the ultimate multitasker, attracting all the good while driving away the bad. Okay, we've built our defenses, we've recruited our allies. Now we move to the most important layer of all, the foundation. This is all about creating that rich, healthy, living soil that's going to support the entire ecosystem from the ground up.
So how do we build this amazing foundation? With a plant called crimson clover. Now, this isn't just another plant you stick in the ground. It's a living tool. As a cover crop, its entire job is to improve the soil, making it healthier and dramatically reducing your need to add fertilizers later on.
So how does this actually work? It's pretty brilliant. First, it literally pulls nitrogen, a key plant food, right out of thin air. Then, special bacteria living on its roots fix that nitrogen into the soil, making it available for your tomatoes to eat. At the same time, its roots are breaking up tough, compacted soil, and as a ground cover, it naturally smothers out weeds. It's doing like 4 jobs at once.
So we've looked at all the individual players. Now let's just zoom out for a second and appreciate the complete picture, this thriving, interconnected ecosystem that you've just designed. So just imagine this in your garden. You've got your guardians, your marigolds, your garlic, creating that protective barrier. Then you have your allies, like borage and parsley, actively recruiting a support team for pollination and pest control. And underneath it all, you have your foundation of crimson clover, constantly building healthy soil that sustains the whole shebang.
You know, this really gets to a whole new mindset. You can choose to garden as if it's a constant battle, always fighting against nature, always reacting to the next problem. Or you can garden like you're building an ecosystem, working with nature to create a proactive, self-sustaining system that pretty much takes care of itself. In the end, it's not just about growing tomatoes. It's about how you choose to grow them. You don't have to use every single plant on this list. Start with just 1 or 2. The real question is, what kind of ecosystem are you going to build this season?
So, you've done everything right. You're watering, you're pruning, you prep the soil, but for some reason, your tomatoes are still struggling. Okay, let's get into this, because there's a secret to growing amazing tomatoes, and it's all about teamwork. It is so frustrating, isn't it? You put in all this time and effort, but then the pests show up, or the plants just look weak, and the harvest, well, it's just not what you dreamed of. You might be missing one absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle. And here it is. The big secret is that tomatoes are social plants. Seriously, they aren't meant to be grown all by themselves in a neat little row. They thrive when they have the right neighbors, allies that protect them, feed them, and help them grow the best tasting fruit you've ever had. All right, let's start with the first line of defense, plants that are basically chemical bodyguards. These aren't just here to look pretty. They're actively releasing natural compounds that create a protective shield around your tomatoes. First up is a total classic you've probably seen a million times, the marigold. But this isn't just some old gardener's tale. There is real, hard science behind why this plant is such a powerhouse companion for a tomato. Let's get into the science. Above ground, marigolds release a compound called limonene. I want you to think of it as an invisible force field. Pests like aphids and those dreaded tomato hornworms, they find your plants by scent. And the signal from limonene basically tells them, nope, nothing good here, keep moving. And the protection goes even deeper than that. Down in the soil, marigolds release a totally different compound that is literally toxic to root knot nematodes, which are one of the biggest hidden threats to your tomato roots. So you get protection both below and above the ground, plus that amazing pop of color. It's a win-win-win. Okay, our next ally is one you definitely already know and love in your kitchen. Basil, but its relationship with tomatoes starts way before they ever get to the plate. These two are just good for each other, right in the garden. So what's the magic here? It's all about a compound called eugenol. That's what gives basil that amazing, sharp scent that we just love. Well, it turns out pests like aphids and whiteflies absolutely can't stand it. It's a natural warning sign that tells them this garden is not for them. Let's bring in the heavy hitter, our third defender, garlic. People have been using it for centuries as a natural repellent, and its power comes from some seriously potent chemistry that helps your tomatoes in a couple of different ways. The power source in garlic is a compound called allicin. That's what creates that super strong smell. To pests like leafhoppers and spider mites, it just screams danger. But beyond that, garlic actually has antifungal properties that can help suppress late blight, which is one of the most devastating tomato diseases out there. And the best part? You get a whole second harvest from the exact same garden space. Okay, so we've covered the chemical defenders. Now let's switch gears for our next section. We're going to look at how some plants don't just push the bad guys away, they actively recruit an army of good guys to be your personal garden bodyguard. So meet our secret weapon, parsley. I know, it's kind of quiet, unassuming, and people often overlook it. But if you plant it near your tomatoes, it turns into a command center for attracting some of the best pest controllers in the entire insect world. What you're seeing here is a perfect example of biological pest control in action. See, parsley's flowers are like an irresistible open invitation to ladybugs and hoverflies. So they show up, they lay their eggs, and pretty soon their larvae hatch. And these larvae are just voracious predators of aphids. You're basically creating a self-regulating ecosystem where nature handles the pest control for you. It's incredible. Now for an ally that brings beauty, an amazing calming scent, and one of the most critical services a tomato plant needs, pollination. Let's talk about lavender. There's just something about it that makes a garden feel complete. What's so fantastic about lavender is its powerful 2-for-1 punch. As this chart shows, it is a world-class pollinator attractor. Bees absolutely love it, and you know what more pollination means, more tomatoes. But at the same time, that beautiful scent that we love is completely overwhelming to a lot of pests, so it actively keeps them away. You're drawing in the good guys while pushing away the bad guys. All right, we've defended from pests up top. Now let's go deeper and talk about the allies that work on the very foundation of your garden, the soil itself. This plant right here is a total game changer for your soil's health, crimson clover. It's what we call a cover crop, and it is such a generous plant. It gives way more to the soil than it ever takes. So here's how it works. It's a process called nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen is absolutely essential for leafy growth, but plants use it up fast. Well, crimson clover has these special bacteria in its roots that literally pull nitrogen out of the air and store it in the soil. It becomes a natural, slow-release fertilizer that directly feeds your tomatoes and means you need to add way less fertilizer yourself. Okay, we've covered the what and the why. Now for the most important part, the how. Let's turn all this great info into a clear, simple action plan that you can start using in your garden today. Everything, and I mean everything, starts with the soil. Using a cover crop like crimson clover will not only add that crucial nitrogen, but it'll also help break up compacted soil, which means better drainage for your tomato roots. Plus, it acts like a living mulch, suppressing weeds so your tomatoes don't have to fight for water and nutrients. Okay, a super quick but really important clarification. People often get French marigolds and calendula, which are also called pot marigolds, mixed up. As you can see, they're from totally different plant families. And while they're both great, they have different strengths. French marigolds are the absolute superstars for killing nematodes, while calendula is fantastic for keeping pests like whiteflies away. And to make it all even easier for you, here is your cheat sheet. This table breaks down our top allies by their main job and their key benefits. Remember, you do not need to plant all of them. Just picking 2 or 3 from this list is going to make a massive difference in the health and productivity of your tomatoes. And really, at the end of the day, this quote just sums it all up perfectly. Companion planting isn't about fighting some epic battle against pests and diseases. It's about creating a living, thriving ecosystem where every single plant supports the others. It really is about working with nature, not against it. When you create that kind of balance, gardening becomes less of a chore and so much more of a joy. You'll see more life, more color, and you'll get a bigger, more flavorful harvest. So, I've got a question for you. Which of these secret allies are you going to recruit for your tomato patch first?